Good morning there, forest friends. I was just about to add a little bit of honey to my tea here, and it got me thinking. Have you ever thought about how honey is made? Do you know where honey comes from? Did you say bees? You're right. Honey comes from bees. And if you've been a really good outdoor explorer recently, you probably have started to notice that things are coming in bloom. Let me show you some of the things in bloom here. There's one of the best smells of lilacs. And over here there's rhododendrons. I can hear the bees. Do you know what they're doing? They're trying to collect pollen to bring it back to their hive in order to make nectar, or get the nectar to make the honey. But what happens when bees land on a flower? I'll show you. There's one that just came here. On the edges of those little parts of the flower are pollen. And the bee is getting covered in it right now. And then this bee is going to fly to another flower, and the pollen that was on it is going to help the rest of the flowers in our world to grow. I don't know about you, but sometimes when bees come near me, I get a little bit nervous, like, whew, get away! That happens sometimes, but what I've learned from learning about bees is that when a bee comes near you, you just want to stay still and calm and maybe walk away slowly. They come near you because you're so sweet. Sometimes if you're drinking something that has sugar in it, or if you're eating honey or something sweet like a popsicle, a bee might come near you because they think it's nectar. Ooh, there was one that just flew by me. They think it's nectar. So they want to get some of it to bring it back to their hive so they can turn it into honey. So as you're watching bees, if you just watch from a little bit far away, you can learn a lot about them. You can see how they act and how they behave and where they want to fly to. If you have blooms like this near where you live, you should go check them out, because right now the bees are really active. They're really trying to make tons of honey in their hives so that they can use it while they go over the winter. So they start now. This is a book called Give Bees a Chance, and the words and pictures are by Bethany Barton. But if you're nervous about getting stung, like this guy, he's not convinced that he should give bees a chance because they're all gonna sting him. Oh well, bees do sting sometimes, but not because they're mean. Here's some stinger stories. Bees only sting to defend themselves. So he's going up to the bird and says, "You look delicious, back off." Or to avoid getting squished or smashed. This is what happens a lot to us. They fly near us and we try and get them off, and then they don't want to get squished. In fact, many bees lose their stinger after attacking, which is sort of like your hand disappearing if you pinch your sister. Bees have to work really hard in order to get just a little bit of honey. So there's a game that you can play that can show you how hard bees might have to work. And what I'm going to use is I have a bowl full of water. I put some yellow food coloring in it so it looked more like nectar. I'm going to use a turkey baster, but you could use anything that you have to suck up the water with. You could use a sponge too if you wanted. I'm also using an egg carton, a plastic egg carton. You can't use a paper one because it's gonna get wet. But if you have a plastic one or an ice cube tray, or you could even just use a cup. And what you're gonna do, you and your family, if you wanna go against each other and have a competition, is you're gonna place one of the ice cube trays or of the pieces a little bit further away, like maybe right here on the ground. And you can place it further away so that you can run more, but I'm gonna place it here so you can see it. And what you do is you go to the nectar, and you're a bee, and you fill up as much as you can. And then you run over to your honeycomb and you squeeze it into as many honeycombs. And then when you run out, you have to come back and get some more nectar and run it over to your honeycomb and fill up each one. And then you have to run back, fill it up again, come back over, squirt it into your honeycomb until all of your honeycombs are full. Then that means that you have filled up your hive. And you can see it takes a lot of work in order to fill a hive for honey. This is from that Give Bees a Chance book. This is how honey is made. The bee gathers nectars from the flower. The nectar goes into this special stomach called a crop. And then the contents of the crop is spit into the bee's mouth. So they pass it through their spit. And the bee breaks down the sugars of the nectar. And then they pass it to more bees. And they break down the nectar in their crop until it's finally honey. And it gets fanned by the wings of the bee to evaporate any of the moisture. So that's why you hear all that buzzing, because they're trying to get rid of the water that's inside of the honey to make it more sweet. And then it's sealed with beeswax to keep it safe until it's eaten. So they put a little wax over the top inside the comb to make it so it will stay there for when they need it. Just 1 pound of honey takes 2 million flowers and 1,000 bees to create. He says, too many bees. Blow gently to make them scatter. That's a good tip. Here's the thing, forest friends. If we want to keep having beautiful forest explorations, we need to help save the bees. I'm even wearing my shirt, Plant These to Save the Bees. So if you plant more flowers and things in your space, then it will make it so more bees come. They're even the reason why we have the food we eat, because most of the food that we eat is grown from having bees bring their pollen to it. But bees are disappearing in large numbers, and they need our help. Okay, I take it back. I don't want bees gone. I even sort of want to help them, as long as they don't sting me. So you can plant some bee-friendly flowers. That's a great way to help the bee population. And hopefully, yes, because he says, won't that attract more bees? Well, yeah, we want to attract more bees, but just approach a bee like you would a dog that you don't know. Don't get too close, and don't try to touch it. Unless you're a flower, it should lose interest and fly away. And if more people like you give bees a chance, they might just have, well, a chance to make the world a sweeter place. So, forest friends, I hope that you find some beautiful blooms and look a little bit closer to maybe find some bees buzzing around as you do. I've loved spending time with you on Forest Fridays in the mud and singing songs and building fairy crowns. There were so many things that we got to do together, and I hope that you use some of those things and your new ideas about forest exploring to help this summer have so much fun and discover lots of new things. Have a great summer to all of my forest friends.